In this video, I'm going to show you how I grew to 25,000 followers on LinkedIn and how you can do the same, all without any ads or complicated funnels. And it's pretty straightforward stuff, but it does require you to get your hands dirty. And there are a few key things that you're going to have to go through if you want to achieve the same result. I'm going to keep this video short and sweet, so without further ado, let's dive in. On here, the whiteboard, we have, it's not even a whiteboard, it's a flip chart. We have the 4C method, which I'm going to walk you through, and we have our outcome, okay? Here's what we're optimizing for. Followers, leads, and clients, but not in that order, right? So this all comes down to defining two things before you start. First and foremost, your objective. Now, if your objective is purely followers, turn this video off. There's no point watching, because I'm here to show you something that is going to help your lifestyle, fuel your lifestyle, the life that you want to live. And the vehicle that we use to do that is business. It is not just becoming famous and trying to get likes and look cool, especially on LinkedIn, all right? Go and do that shit on Instagram. So the objective should never be this. You never want to just aim for followers. It's great to be famous in your own little corner of the internet or the world, but what we actually need is this, clients. We need money in order to live. So the objective should never be followers. It should be lifestyle first, all right? What do you want to do with your time? Where do you want to do it? And who do you want to do it with? Super important, because those things fill you up. I've worked so many shit jobs in my time, in call centers where my toilet breaks were timed. I've done like DIY style, trade style jobs. I've painted houses. I've worked at Domino's Pizza. I worked in a quality assurance lab at AstraZeneca for 2 years. All these jobs where it was just, I've worked in a warehouse like packing boxes. I worked at a solicitor's filling in some forms. That's not my life objective. My life objective is to spend time with my friends and my family, have an impact and make some money. And I'm sure yours isn't too dissimilar. So that's what we need to work out. And if you're focusing on followers, that's an issue. All right. Followers are great, but they are a byproduct of doing the actions or putting in the actions which I'm about to describe to you, which get clients, okay? Now, once you've worked out what you want your life or your day or your weeks or whatever to look like, we move on to this bit, which is targeting. You need to be acutely aware of who it is that you can help. Because if you just start running this workflow that I'm about to talk to you about without sort of an end person, user, audience, market, demographic in mind, you're never going to sell, okay? You're never going to get the leads and the clients. You might get followers if you just do some like TikTok-y crazy bullshit, but anyway, I'm not that good at dancing. So defining who your target market are, all right? And that is essentially split up into loads of different things, but location, age, big one is problem, so the problem you solve. We might also have like preferences over here and hobbies and values and all these different things, okay? I'm not going to do a whole lesson on defining your ICP and audience personas and that kind of thing. What I really want to get into is how I did get to this, but also how I made over $1.5 million, the first million of it certainly, if not a bit more, all without any ads. I sent a few cold DMs at the start. We're going to touch on DMs. And it's fueled my lifestyle. I can literally take a day off whenever I want. I have minimal requirements in terms of client delivery, and I fucking love my life. It's great. I get to travel whenever I want, pretty much go wherever I want. I am by no means rich, don't have a flashy car. I just get to live the life that I want. There's still work to do, of course, but here is how I got there. So it all comes down to this equation here, okay? The 4 C's. Now the first one on LinkedIn, which is absolutely basic, that most people are skipping, is connections, all right? It's much easier to speak to people and for them to actually see your content if you are connected with them. So as a bare minimum, what you want to do is send 20 connection requests every single day. The problem is those 20 connection requests need to be targeted. I would not waste time connecting or even accepting connection requests from people that are not or don't look like they can add value to you in some way, whether that's through money or wisdom or, you know, skills that they have or a supplier relationship they may sell to you in the end. But if they don't look valuable, don't connect with them, don't waste your time. We only have a limited amount of time to do this. I mean, you could put an hour a day into this. You could put 10 hours a day, which some people do into just one of these C's. But this one's fairly easy. So we build a list of people in our target market and we connect with them. All right. Once we have connected with them, they are going to get exposed to the next C, which, as you were probably expecting, is content. Okay. Now, content is on LinkedIn being suffocated for most creators at the moment. So I would not say that this is a high priority activity compared to the connections and one of the other C's. So you are at the mercy when you're playing the organic marketing game, you are at the mercy of any algorithm of any platform that you choose to post on. So you could go to Insta. I mean, this works across any platform, to be fair, apart from YouTube, because you can't have conversations. But you could go on Insta. You could go on YouTube. Could go on Facebook, Bebo, MySpace, whatever. The problem is you're at the mercy of the algorithm because that literally just chooses who sees your content. If you look at how many followers you've got versus how many impressions you get, the number will be very, very different. As I mentioned, I got like 25,000 followers. I'll get anywhere between 1,000 to 5,000 impressions a post, which means at max 20%. So I mean, some posts will go bigger than this. 20% of my followers are seeing my content. That means 80% of them aren't. But that makes content pretty easy because once you've done, like, let's say 10 pieces, you will find one that performs the best. Then you times that by 10 and you will find another one that performs the best. I know you can do this with 100, 1,000, whatever. All right, but I've got loads in the bank, so that became quite easy. It's good to know that approximately 80% of my followers don't see my content. It sounds awful. But it's not good news, but it's a good learning. So content I will probably put this on priority number 4. This will be priority number 2 on this workflow. But still, I recommend posting daily. There's the whole thing about the pottery class where they had 2 groups of students in a pottery class. They had a semester or a term or whatever for them to create the perfect pot. I've heard this story loads of times. I don't know who I heard it from. Probably a few people. But they all need to make the perfect pot. One group was told that they just work on the one pot and make it all polished and present it at the end of the semester. Another group was told that they could make as many pots as they want. Who do you think actually ended up with the perfect pot? The people that were striving for perfection or the people that were just putting the inputs in? Yes, you guessed it. It is the latter. All right. So you want to publish content, if possible, every single day. It's very easy to make content or at least come up with ideas. But again, this comes back down to targeting because you want to make content not only about yourself. So I do a 50-50 split when it comes to content, 50% personal, 50% business. Now the business content is largely focused around a problem that my clients might have, how I've solved it, how I would recommend solving it, processes, frameworks, proof that I've taken other people through that, yada, yada, yada. All right. So 50-50% split. But that's why this targeting piece is so important. Content should not take you long. You should not be spending ages on it. I've done the whole 3 hours on one 10-slide carousel, the 5-hour like YouTube videos and shit like that. And you know what? It's demoralizing when it doesn't get the response that you want and you put out something that you hash out in 10 minutes and it gets 10 times the response and more leads. So you just want to build in like a bank of time once a week to mass produce your content, unless you're one of those weird people that can create on the fly. If you can do that, then just do it. However, I much prefer a structured regime where every Wednesday I'll just do some recordings, do a bit of writing, schedule it, and it's done for the week. And that's my day off calls. I think I have one call with a one-to-one client every other Wednesday. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so we know priority 2. We know priority number 4. Let's talk about priority number 3. And that is, this is a lie. This is priority number 3. This is priority number 4. And this one is comments. Okay, you can get a lot of visibility. It takes hours, but you can get a lot of visibility from audience jacking or audience hijacking. So let's say, I don't know, a big creator is Justin Welsh. All right, most people, you'll know who Justin Welsh is if you've been on LinkedIn for a while. He obviously has a massive audience. I think he's probably at like 500,000 followers. That's great. So every time he posts, let's just say 20%, 1 million people see it. It probably won't be that high because it just doesn't work like that on social media. He'll actually probably be exposed to less than 20% of his audience. But let's just say 1 million people, sorry, not 1 million people, 200,000 people see it, okay? They will automatically, if it's an engaging piece of content, go and start looking and posting comments or looking at the comments. So this is a great place, again, comes down to targeting. We find someone that has the attention, so an industry giant that you can go and hijack. So you can go and interact with people in those comments, you can leave your own comments, and it's another way to boost visibility and ultimately get one of the first things that leads to all these, which is profile views. People can't follow you if they don't view your profile. It's very hard for them to become a lead or a client unless they view your profile. Usually they will follow you first, all right, typically. So you can leave comments. You can also leave comments on ideal clients posts too. So you can make a list on LinkedIn and every day see if that client has posted. Now, if you sell to big corporates, you're probably not going to see them posting that much. But I've just had a conversation with Katie Skelton, who's our head of sales and marketing. And she's come up with an idea with her brother, who is looking to target specific people, very specific people, again, comes back to targeting in the healthcare space, so he can sell them his services. Now, what they're thinking of doing is setting up an alert when their ideal sort of target market post content, and then making a piece of content about it, and then tagging them in it, all right? That's a very clever way of doing it, because what that does, not only does it boost the connection, but it also creates this next C, which we'll talk about in a second, okay? So, second, every single day, I'll be topping up my audience with 20 to 40 relevant connections. Third, I'll be making content and posting it daily. Fourth, last, bottom of the pile for me, other people will say differently, going and leaving comments. How I've found using comments works best is if you don't want to go and send DMs to people and stuff like that. You can get visibility, but it takes a lot of time just trolling through the shit. The last, which is actually the most important, this is what you need to do every single day if you want to win clients using LinkedIn, or you could get a VA to do it for you if you wanted to, is conversations. And yes, that means DMs. However, as I mentioned, you don't have to run this on LinkedIn. You can run this on email. You could just having conversations face to face. You could use cold calls, whatever. All right. But having one-to-one interactions with your ideal clients. There is a specific order that we do this. You'll find most people going cold. What I teach is something called the priority pipeline. So we prioritize people who have displayed interest or are close to buying first. And then we go all the way back to cold, usually in the time frame that you have. When you're running this workflow, you won't even have time to send cold messages, because we've set these 3 things up in order to engineer conversations with people who have had a lot more exposure to our brand on LinkedIn. All right. So while most people prioritize the top of the funnel first, we actually prioritize the bottom of the funnel first, and that is the priority pipeline. There are about 30 different stages of warmth that I teach to our clients and teach them the sort of the order in which to attack them as well. So quick recap, because I just wanted this to be a pretty short video. Fuck the followers. The followers will come if you just do all this stuff. All right. So just nail down the objectives. Get very clear on who you help and the problem you solve and how you help them solve it. First and foremost, make sure you have conversations with the hottest people down to the coldest. Second, you could do this first and that second, whatever. You get fresh blood into your ecosystem every single day. Third, make sure you've got content posted. Put it in an hour-long batch. A couple of hour batch each week. And then finally, go and leave comments if you can be asked. If you want to find out how I can help you, just drawing all over my fingers. I've got a free LinkedIn training. It goes in a lot more depth about the 6 different things you need to have and the order you need to set it up in. You can go and grab that from the link in the comments, and it will show you the 6 secrets that you need to know in order to make 6 figures on LinkedIn. I've been Chris James. Thank you. Goodbye.